Imagine traveling around the world in the mid-1960s in search of a surf movie. No, not the perfect wave, but a surf movie. That's exactly what Phil Wilson did as he combined his love for filmmaking with his passion for surfing.
Gone with the Wave was just a film about people that had similar interests to myself, that we just were compelled and drawn to the ocean when the waves were up. I didn't know what the affinity was between us and the ocean at the time. It was just something that we did. It was just like salmon going upstream because that's what you're supposed to do.
Surfer and filmmaker Phil Wilson is one of those rare and fortunate people whose career choices have been guided more by passion than by dollar signs.
Gone with the Wave was a dream project. I kind of grew up in the shadows of Bruce Brown and Bud Brown and Grant Roloff and John Severson. I used to watch their programs and I said, that's really what I'd like to do, or at least give it a shot. I grew up in Los Angeles. My dad was with Universal Studios in the music department, so I used to hang out at the back lots and watch all the people produce their weekly television programs. I never knew what the master plan was, like most folks, but there were certain things I did pursue, like underwater photography. One thing led to another, and I had access to what they call end cuts at the studio, where you could get the leftovers from the day's shooting at Universal. So this enabled me at least to go out and experiment. A lot of my efforts came out pretty good, or good enough to go to the next step.
With free film, a camera, and Dad's encouragement, Phil took to the road. And somewhere along the way, he figured he'd find a surf movie.
Some of the early places I recorded were in Malibu and then in Mexico, Baja California. And when I came to Hawaii, shots of early Ala Moana and the North Shore. Wherever I could find somebody surfing and a story to tell, it was just shoot whatever you can find, and then we'll make something.
Taking a quarter-mile paddle to reach the break, we start out to sea. Let's watch one of Hawaii's finest surfers, 20-year-old Paul Stroud, Jr., as he executes his smooth and classic stylizations on the waves.
As you might expect, surfers young and old have their own unique way of looking at the world.
I think surfers have always had an attitude. Most of them were mavericks, you know, just kids that love to surf. I'm just lucky that I've always had this association with the ocean. And I don't know if it's where I came from or where I'm going, but it's something I've always incorporated in my life.
A life filled with adventure, exploring, and learning, like discovering the origins of surfing in South America.
Peru is one of the countries I first visited in 1965 when Felipe Pomar had won the World Surf Championships. Peru offered an opportunity to look back into the past, because a lot of things that were going on 2,000 years ago are still going on today. And a lot of it relates to the surf craft they use, these caballito de totoras, which are these little reed boats. I tend to believe that they were probably surfing these craft several thousand years ago. I had always admired Thor Heyerdahl when he crossed the ocean in Kon-Tiki years ago from Peru. And when I went down there on a recent trip, there's Thor at this ocean festival. He had some interesting theories on these reed crafts and how they were probably used years ago, because people today and people 2,000 years ago still enjoyed dropping in on a wave or paddling out. That same euphoria that you get, that rush, hasn't changed, because waves are waves.
With his fascination, commitment, and love of the ocean, what's on the horizon for this restless traveler?
I would like to still continue on doing 1 or 2 classic films a year. I think there's enough adventures out there for everybody to continue to have that dream about making films. Not talking about money, I'm just talking about films here. Though money is nice, I think you got to be driven by a much deeper sense of adventure.
Our producer, Phil Wilson, seen on the right, takes time out from the cameras and challenges the power of Waimea. Here's our producer, Phil, again, on a solo flight across the bay and enjoying his favorite pastime.
Everybody has a different shoe that fits, and I think the main thing is to be out in the water enjoying it.
With passion and determination, I guess anything is possible.